And I think for any kind of real healing or remediation to take place, those issues have to get addressed. Well, a lot of people have probably heard, or some people in Yellowknife, not everybody, but some people have heard stories about the elders saying that some children with the Yellowknife's Dene First Nation had actually died from arsenic that came from the giant mine, and nobody sort of really believed those stories. I go to Ottawa once in a while for meetings, and I go to the Library and Archives Canada and look up some records. So there was an inquest held into the death of a child. The family got compensated by the company $750. There's a letter about that in the records. The compensation came at the urging of the government. Doesn't seem like a lot of money to me, maybe even in 1950-51 when this happened. There may have been other deaths, and certainly the Yellowknives talk about other people getting sick from the arsenic. And this was a time when there was like 7,400 kilograms of arsenic trioxide going up the stack every single day before they installed any pollution control equipment in 1951. So first 3 years of this mine's operation, everything went up the stack. All the snow, the soil in Yellowknife got contaminated. So, you know, how can you compensate for the loss of a child and the destruction of your territory? That hasn't happened. It hasn't been addressed, and until that's addressed, I don't think we can really have any kind of closure or proper healing.
How can you compensate for a life, you know, that is lost? People need to tell the truth to what really happened to these people and their children. I feel so sad and angry at the same time because of what happened to a land, to our land that was so important to our people. It was just taken without any consultation. They didn't say they were going to do this. They just took over and started building and building and building. Even Yellowknife, the city, you know, they think they own all this land and they're making money and money out of properties, and you know, all that is happening, and the whole vegetation on that land is all dead. I wouldn't want my future generation to live on that land at all. So I think the whole land area is dead. No use.
My name is Fred Sangris. I'm a member of Yellowknife's Dene. I live right in the community at Dilo, and the other community is in Deda, about 5 kilometers out. And I was raised in this area, as my father and my grandfathers, they all live in this area. This area here, giant mine, had such a big impact on our lives, even though it might have benefited a lot of people working here in the economy. But as Aboriginal people, we're impacted by it because a lot of the sediments and the bad stuff, the pollution from the mines, they come down the creek and it goes right into the back bay where we fish. This is one of the giant mine tailing ponds. Right above that is huge tailings, and we're just north of the giant mine buildings. This is where the Yellowknife's Dene used to go with the dog team trail that goes over to the other side onto the smaller lakes. One day we heard this tailing broke. What we heard was the dam, the tailing walls was weak, wasn't properly built, and the tailings in the back was too much. So it forced the wall and it broke through, and the whole tailings came right down here. It was probably a big disaster here. They didn't tell the Yellowknife's Dene for a while, maybe a few days later, and then they finally told people what happened here. This mud here in the water that you see here, sand, that's all tailing sand that came down. And it will probably never clean itself over time. It will be there for a very, very long time. And it's directly across from my community. So when we get big winds from the tailings going south, the tailings sand picks up and it flies over to my community in Dillon over there. We hired this young scientist to do berry studies. We wanted to know if the berries were good or no good. We got the results back months later. I was really shocked. Arsenic can be traced up to 15, 16 kilometers radius is mine. So now we're telling the school children and people, don't pick berries. You want to pick berries, go up to 20 kilometers, be safe. And that now we're forced to go that far to pick berries. Now we're going that far to go fishing. We're going that far to pick berries. We're going that distance to pick our medicine plants. Now we're forced to go outside. When in the olden days, we used to pick everything in the surrounding bays, and everything was good at one time. The mines was allowed to dump water into the bay here. DFO never really talked to us if the water was not good. They just gave them the water license. And INAC never talked to us. They gave them the mining permit year after year. I think it might have been 1976 or 75. In the early spring, they discharged a lot of the water here. And I was in Back Bay here by Weavers. I saw a couple of whitefish on the shoreline floating. They died. Looked like they died. So I was kind of curious. So I went around the bay with a boat. I probably counted like a few hundred fish floating on the shoreline. I reported that to DFO, Fisheries Department, and the game warden. And then they had somebody come out with a boat, collecting all the fish on the shoreline, throw them in a boat. And I thought this was going to be a big story, you know, about the fish dying off in the bay, you know, floating in the spring. I didn't read anything in the paper. They never come back to us and said, this is how the fish died. It was all quietly covered up. Even though the questions went, Health Canada, INAC, nobody came to bother to talk to us. We only live right there. And it's had such a devastation that I think we were ignored. We were just left alone, ignored. The team from INAC was pushing to get us to agree to the frozen state. That's not what we wanted. We didn't want it any frozen. We don't want anything here. But they insisted and insisted and insisted, and they got their way. For us, it's underground here for the time being, but we're always worried about accidental underground blast, accidental natural disaster. It could be earthquake. Anything could happen. It could be a flood underground too. You know, we don't know. But for us, it's a scary thing. We couldn't wear our own clothes to go underground for security or for some reason, a health reason maybe. We have to wear the suit. So when I'm given the suit, it tells me, well, there's something down there. Could get onto me, my clothes, and I could transfer that over to my house. So that's the reason why I'm wearing these clothes.
We're going under.
I know.
I keep trying to get that edge to the RGD's office, but they don't let me do that.
I was a little scared coming down here. My grandfather said, don't work underground, he said. I said, why, grandfather? He said, you're closer to the devil, he said, when you get to underground. He's down there, he said. Now, the only thing we're worried about is there's water running here, making its way to the creek and going on to the lake. That's what we're worried about.
So any water here that moves, we'll pick it up. We'll have a series of sumps along the way.
Yeah.
You'll take that water, and that first place that we stopped, there was a pipe that was down by your feet that had arsenic written on it.
Yeah, yeah.
That one goes down to 750.
Okay.
Goes all the way down to 750 foot level.
Yeah.
And then it goes across to the Cacho shaft.
Yeah.
And then we bring the water up from there, and we put it in the Northwest Pond.
Oh,
The water
okay.
from the Northwest Pond then goes to the effluent treatment plant for treatment and discharge. There's 38 openings to the surface. All those openings will be capped and covered off.
Yeah. So this whole place will be?
We won't fill up all the drifts.
Yeah.
Like we won't cement them all off, but we'll cement off the surface.
Oh, the
and then
entrance.
cement off key areas, and then
Okay. It's right behind this wall here, and probably about 30 meters up. All these pipes are going on around it, and it's freezing the whole thing in. They're telling me this is a test pipe. It's experimental, which means that they really don't know the full idea of how to keep it maintained. I was told that there are 13 other chambers like this that might have the similar freeze. So with this one is the 14th. A lot of people in my community weren't sure about it, if it's going to work or not. But I think with film you can capture a lot of the ice here. You can show it to the community. This thing is actually working. First one anyways. Yeah, I'm amazed it's actually working. It's doing what it's doing. It's supposed to do. It's freezing. Which makes me feel comfortable. Safer, I can probably close one eye and I'll go to sleep. But still keep the other one open until all the other 13 are done. Hopefully they'll put it to sleep for good.
It took me a long time to get over a lot of anger that I had at the beginning when I first sort of realized that you can't push a magic button and this stuff goes away and we can have some sort of a walk-away solution. That's just not there. So after, the anger, you start to think about, okay, well, what is the best that we can do here? And is the plan that's the governments have come up with, is that really the best plan that we could possibly put in place? And I have to answer no. Freezing this stuff underground forever and calling that a permanent solution, as the government's plan was really all about, that's just fobbing this off onto a future generation. It's not really very responsible.